Bibles, we'll look at the book of Romans. So I'll be the book of Romans. We'll look at the 13th chapter. It's Romans 13. I want to begin in verse 11. I'll read 11 through 14, but I'm only going to preach 11 on today. Amen. I was looking at this. It's just too much to try to preach in one standing, even though we can do that, but I wanted to take some time and cut it up in small pieces and feast on it. There's a lot in 11, 12, 13, and 14 and what the Lord has shared with me. That's Romans, the 13th chapter, beginning in verse 11. If you have it, say amen. Amen. Here's the wait, say wait. I didn't hear no wait, so we must be all there. It reads, and that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof. You may be seated. Verse 11, and that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. I'm just going to preach verse 11, and as the Lord permits, we'll follow each verse on the weeks following. But I want to preach in this series. If I had to title this series, I would just title it, It's Time. It's Time. And the subtitle of this coming out of verse 11, Get Up. If you put all that together, it's time to get up. It's time. I was pondering over this, like I said, and was looking at it, and there's a lot to these verses 11, 12, 13, and 14 that God will have to say to us. But it deals right here, and if you look through these verses, you'll see some significant things that he's dealing with time. You see the word time. You see the word day. You see the word night. All of that is dealing with time. Time is a measurement. Time is indicative to where we are and what is going on. He deals here in Romans with time. Time has a way of letting you know where and what you should be doing. Time has a way of letting you know what you should be doing and where you should be. Because usually, hopefully, we don't want to be late for whatever we are supposed to be doing. I know sometimes we might run tardy, but there's some things you don't want to be tardy for. Some things you might want to get there early. Or you might want to get there on time. When things are important to you, you make preparations to get to your destination on what? Time. And that's all he's dealing with somewhat here. But let's look as to see what he says to us when he says, get up. First thing you see in this verse 11, it says, and that knowing the time. The first thing he says is we're going to get up is that we have to be aware. What is awareness? That means that we are conscious of what season we are in. We are also conscious of what season the world is in. Hope y'all hear me very well. He says, knowing the time. When he uses the word knowing, what he's saying is, in the Greek, he says, understand the time. Y'all looking at me a little strange, so let me help you a little bit better than what I'm helping you. You've got to know what era you are in. And the way you know, what era you are in, if you look in God's word, a lot of things that are going on, God has already said that it will go on. Yeah. You've got to know when he says that people will not endure with sound doctrine, but they will gather teachers to themselves because they have itching ears. We're in that time. Yeah. When he talks about brother will be against brother, we're in that time. Yeah. When he talks about sister will be against sister, we're in that time. When he talks about they'll have a form of godliness, but really their hearts are far from God, we're in that time. And we've got to be aware of where we are at, because those things are indicative of when Christ will return. He says, so I want you to be aware of the schedule. And that's what he's dealing with here when he says, no, I want you to understand what's on the schedule. Sometimes you got to stop and read God's word because it lets us know what's on schedule. And a schedule is an important thing because you have different things that you do at certain times on your schedule. Your schedule is an indicator that if you are running late or if you have skipped something, what you need to do. A schedule is an important thing. And can I tell you that God also has a schedule? And he also, if God has a schedule, then guess what? God has given you a schedule. And there's no need of us walking around and being unaware of where we are and what is going on in this world today. We need to be aware. And the only way, he said, to get up is that you have to understand where you are. Yes. You got to be aware, because can I tell you that some folk don't know they lost. Y'all in here? Some people are not don't understand that, hey, baby, you are headed to hell and you're headed to hell real fast. You got to understand where you are. And that's how we come into salvation, is because we understood, look, I'm lost. I'm blind. I'm laying on my feet. I'm sick. I'm not well. My mind is double-minded. I'm unclear. I don't have any understanding. I can't help nobody else because I can't even help myself. You got to understand where you are. He deals with that. He said, if you're going to get up, you've got to be aware. When he says knowing, he says understand. And understand the time. When he deals with that word time there, he's talking about the season, the proper time, a definite period. And see, you got to be careful who you listen to, because some will say, oh, we're not in those times yet. And the scripture even says that. Oh, God's wrath is not coming. It's not that time yet. You got to get with God to know what's on the schedule. He's got to make you become aware. He deals with awareness. He says that's one of the ways you get up. And watch this. He said that knowing the time, watch this language, that now it is high time to awake. First deals with awareness, dealing with your schedule. Then he deals with awake. He deals with us sleeping. One of the ways to truly get fired on a job is to let them find you sleeping on the clock. Because if you're sleeping on the clock, it's really considered that you're stealing time. Because when you punch the clock, you punch it and say, I'm going in, I'm punching in to start what? Working. You don't say that I punch in and then I'm going to go in here and take a nap. That's backwards. So a lot of us are sleeping on the job. And I'm not talking about just these physical jobs, but I'm talking about our spiritual jobs of what we should be doing. He said, not only do I want you to become aware of what time it is, he said, but now I need you to awake. Because we have been sleeping. When he says now. When he uses that word now, it comes from in the Greek, it means by this time. That means that the time is right now. Not tomorrow. Not later on. Not next year. He says now is the time. So don't make excuses for yourself. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes I tend to procrastinate. Can I tell you that that's really a sin? Because, Shane, if God is telling you to do something, and he says, do it now. Do you know that delayed obedience is disobedience? That's just like when you were raised. I know in my house and in my mama's house, when I said to do something, or when my mama told me to do something, it didn't mean, oh, wait a minute. Right. I ain't never told my mama, wait a minute. And get what? My children ain't never told me if they did when they came to. Y'all didn't hear that? Yeah. When they came to, I bet you they would never say it again. Because what I said, I mean for you to do it now and right now, hop on to it. Right. And if I'm like that, what do you think God is like? God doesn't make suggestions, baby. God gives commands. And if he says, oh, wait, get up. If he says, go, guess what? Go. If he says, be still, guess what? Be still. If he says, be quiet, guess what? Be quiet. That don't mean you keep talking. God says, do it now.
Yes. Yeah. Jesus.
He says, by this time. And when he says awake, it means to rouse from sleep or lying. It means to collect one's faculties. I would use myself, but since it happened this morning, she might get me later, but when we woke up, I woke up first. And when Jeanette got up, she was making coffee, the coffee going. We had been up maybe about 10, 15 minutes. And she was leaving out the kitchen to go do something. And she was kind of limping. I said, now, babe, don't start that putting on. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Just messing with her. She said, my leg is still asleep. With the leg being somewhat still asleep, which tells me that possibly blood is not properly circulating yet in that particular limb.
All right.
Y'all gonna catch what I'm saying here in a minute. I said the blood is not yet properly flowing in that particular leg. But as Jeanette kept walking, take that she seemed to be all right because I got to the church before her. But then once she got in here, she didn't limp in here, she strutted in here. What are you saying, preacher? That when you wake up, you gather your limbs and you need the blood of Jesus
All right.
to flow in every aspect of your life. God says it's time to get up.
Yes.
It's time to be aware. It's time to awake and not be asleep.
Yes.
You ever notice? You ever been real tired?
Yeah.
He said, I just need about an hour. And you mess around, now it was daylight outside when you went to sleep. And when you do come to, it's daylight, and you think you in the same day. Oh, y'all ain't never, I'm sorry. Y'all ain't never been tired then. And you get up to do what you were going to do, but it's too late.
Mama.
It's too late because that day is what? Gone. You're in a whole nother day. And what you had to do on the schedule for yesterday, you've been sleeping. And so guess what happened? Since you were asleep, you didn't follow the schedule, and the work that you had to do, you didn't get it done.
Mama.
So now, it's shown up messed up.
Mama.
Now you hopping along, you're trying to jam stuff together.
Yeah.
You're rushing to do this and all that, and now you're jamming things together because we've been asleep
Yeah.
on the job.
My Jesus.
Sad to say, a lot of Christians are asleep. A lot of preachers
Mama.
sleep. A lot of people in the body of Christ sleep. And ain't no need of us looking down our nose at them because we've had our moments
Yeah.
that we was asleep.
Yeah.
And the only way, Abbott, that we became awakened is, first of all, God had to tap us on our shoulder and make us aware of the schedule and say, hey, it looked like you might be finna run late. So let me tell you what's on the schedule. And since now that you know what's on the schedule, you'll properly set your alarm so you can get up and do what's on.
Mama.
I hope I'm making this as plain as I can. But that's what he does, Abby, in the first part of when he says become aware, Raven. He's really sounding the alarm. Do you know what time it is? Want you to make you aware of what's really going on around you. And a lot of us walk around with our heads up in the clouds. We're unconscious, walking around, don't know what's going on. And that's why people can lead us any kind of way. Because we ain't aware. We think everybody's our friend. We think every smiling face is full. We think that every boy that winks at us means us good. We think that every girl that switches past us is good for us. God says no.
Yes.
I don't know who I'm preaching to, but he says, I need you to be aware. And the only way, Jamal, for us to become aware is to get in God's word.
Right.
Because if it don't line up with God's word, then guess what? Daniel, it don't need to be on the schedule. It's time now for us setting appointments with folk God ain't never meant for us to set appointments for anyhow.
Yeah.
Because when you set appointments for folk that shouldn't be on the schedule, all you doing, baby, is wasting time, and you feel the slot of time when somebody else supposed to be in that time.
All right.
He says, I need you to be aware. I need you to awake. He said, that's the only way you're going to get up. Lazy for you to become aware. And so now that you're aware of the era and the time that you're in, now he says, awake. Watch this. I told you that when you're talking about awake, is to gather one's faculties. But when he was dealing with that, when he's dealing with that, you know, to be sleepy, really you're not present. If you're supposed to be at work and you in the bed still asleep, you ain't present at work. You ain't there.
Yeah.
You still under the covers. You still rolling around. You still snoozing and busting slob and all of them things that come with being asleep. But you have somewhere to be and you're not present, which puts stress on other, y'all in here, which puts stress on other folk because they got to do their part and your part. That's why the Bible says, praise and listen here. He said the harvest is plentiful. He said, but the laborers, the workers are few. He said, so I don't need you to pray for the harvest. What I need you to pray for is some more workers. He said, I don't need you to pray for some more work to get in here. He said, because the work is here. It's on the schedule. What I need is some more workers to go and do the work.
All right. Yeah. Jesus.
It's there. He says, to get up, you got to be aware. You got to awake. And watch this. He said that now it is high time. That means right now. That means it's ready. Y'all hear me? That means it's ready. Not 5 minutes after, not a minute after. Stop making excuses for ourselves. All that. And many, all of us have done it.
Yeah.
Don't you know this cutting me up?
Jesus.
It cut the preacher first. But he said it's high time. Now. Not later. Now. Get serious now. Get about God now. Pray now. Throw away the things you need to throw away now. Get rid of the folks out of your life that you know don't supposed to be there now. Stop holding conversations that you don't need to have now. He says that now is high time to awake. Watch this. Out of sleep. He deals with our awareness. He deals with us awakening. But then watch this. Lacey deals with our activity. See, because I found out generally it ain't just good to be aware and awake and still in the bed. I hope y'all hearing me.
Yes.
You can be aware, oh, it's time for me to know what the schedule say. I'm aware. I'm awake. But then just lay there.
Yeah.
Or just sit there.
Yeah.
and do nothing. You might well stay asleep. You might well not be aware. Actually, the judgment for you being aware and not doing it is much stronger. When you know to do what's right and you don't do it, the judgment is even more fierce. When you know to do the right thing and you don't do it, or if you know God is leading you away, you say, God, I get with you later, the wrath is more fierce. Not that God won't take care of you, but God will whoop you all at the same time. Because I done fed my children and beat them down. Are y'all in here? And I ain't talking, don't nobody know, the preacher been giving his children black eye. That ain't what I'm talking about. But I have punished them and fed them all at the same time. Now I gave you what you needed on both ends. Some in your stomach and some on your behind. Y'all might well say amen. Because that's what's going on a lot of times in this world, is that we don't want to chastise children. And now you got a whole lot of people that got a grown age, but an infant mind. They got the body, but the mind ain't big as nothing. Ain't got no sense, no maturity, and think they got it going on. I know it's tight, but it's right. He says, need you to be aware, need you to be awake. Then he deals with our activity. And then I almost flipped our kitchen table over last night when I was looking at that word sleep, because of revelation to me. And that word sleep in the Greek comes from a Greek word hypnos. Y'all know when you go under, if you let somebody get in your head, when you go to the doctor, they hypnotize you. They go in the psyche, put you somewhat in an unconscious state to go in and turn the mind the way that they think it should go. Are y'all in here? He said, and I don't need y'all under hypnosis. He said, because I need you to be aware and awake. And don't allow the world to rock you, baby, to sleep. He said, because when you sit in their chair, and why in that Psalms, I think that's Psalms 1, and sit not in the seat of the scornful. When you sit down with evil folk long enough, baby, something will get in your mind too and put you under a hypnosis. And that's why we running late on the schedule, because we didn't sit in somebody else's chair that God didn't want us to sit under, and they giving us worldly advice. And baby, I would do that, and I would do this, and I would do it that way, and I'll tell him to get on. Why don't you go ahead and get into all that kind of mess? And God ain't sent them in your life anyhow.
That, sir.
I ain't. Girl, look, what I do when my folks tell me something, I just wait till they go sleep, and then I just... God said, now ain't the time. Really, truth, there ain't never been the time, but God said, definitely not. Not the time to be playing. He said, I need you to be aware. I need you to be awake. He said, and then I need your activity. He says, and this word sleep, and I told you it comes from the Greek word hypnos. It means to physically or mentally be inactive. It means to be under, beneath, in an inferior position or condition. You know, when they put you under hypnosis, and even sometimes when you go, they have surgery, the anesthesia, they call it putting you under. He says, listen here, I don't need my people to be inferior to the world. You know what? And that's really what happened. That really what happened to the church. We switched positions. And don't get me wrong, like I'm down in the church, but we have become somewhat of an unhealthy church in this day and age.
Yeah.
And the preachers, we have to preach about it to the coming and to ourselves, because we trying to do what the world is doing.
Jesus.
He tells us to be examples. Now, last time I checked, the example is the standard. And people come look at the example and try to mimic the example.
Yeah.
Now, what the example look like going over there to something that don't have a clue,
Yeah.
drop the example and try to match up with them, that just doesn't make sense.
Nah.
But that's what we are doing now. The church is trying to become like the world. Why? When we're the example, when we have the answer,
Yes.
why would we drop the answer and go out here with these folks that don't have a clue? Don't make no sense.
Nah.
Just don't make no sense. He said, so I need you to be active.
Yes.
I don't need you to be put under the hypnosis of the world or Satan or demonic forces. He says, I need you to be aware.
Yes.
I need you to be awake. And I need you to be active. Give you this last one and I'm gone. He said, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. He lastly deals with our assurance. He says, I need you to be aware. I need you to be awake. I need you to be active. Preacher, I'm trying to understand when he said that, all of a sudden he started talking about assurance. Because sometimes, or a lot of times, most of the time, I want to almost say all the time, but when you become aware, awake, and active, sometimes you ain't going to run with the crowd.
That's right.
It's just inevitable. You will see yourself begin to separate. Because the crowd is doing things and saying things and you're like, that's getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, things that I used to laugh at, but they talking about ain't funny to me. What they doing, they ain't no good time for me anymore.
Yeah.
I hope y'all hear me. He says, but I got to give you some assurance, he said, because this is what I want you to realize. He said that your salvation
All right.
is closer than when you first believed. What is he saying? He says, now look at the word salvation. It means that rescue, health, safety, deliverance. He says your safety, your deliverance, your health, your wealth, your prosperity is coming closer and closer to you than when you first initially believed.
All right.
This is all God is saying. He said, listen here. I'm on my way back.
Yes.
That's all he's really saying. I'm on my way back and I'm drawing closer and closer to you.
Jesus.
That's the Christian picture, if I ever seen it before, Jayla, is that I leave the world.
Yes.
And when I look up, I read, I'm farther away from the world and I'm closer to Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish I had a house in here. That's what it is, mama, that I'm drawing closer and closer to Jesus. And when you draw closer and closer to Jesus, AJ, you'll start to see some folk fall off.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You'll start
start to see habits fall off.
Yes.
You'll start to see mindsets fall off. You'll start to see depression fall off. You'll start to see darkness fall off. You'll start to see unhappiness fall off.
All right. Preach, sir.
He says, all I'm really letting you know is when you become aware, awake, and active for me, I got your back. He says, so I'm assuring you that you'll be safe. You might go in some dangerous places. And listen here. If you do lose your life on behalf of Jesus Christ, you gain. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? So obviously, the most vital part of you, the most value that you have, baby, ain't your skin. It ain't your hips. It ain't your lips. It ain't your hair. It's your soul. Because that's what God deposited in you to make your body move around. When he made man, and God breathed into them and they became a living soul. He said, it's time. It's time. It's time.
Yes.
Hey, y'all. Church, y'all hear me?
Yes. Hallelujah.
It's time. Come on. Get up. It's time. Come on. Get ready. It's time.
Yeah.
Come on. Get out that bed.
Yeah.
Come on. Get out that chair. Come on out of that depression. It's time. Come on. Get out of that loneliness. Get out of that. It's time. He said, and draw closer to me. He said, if you do that, I got you. I'm going to rescue you. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to deliver you. After I found out, I'm going to my seat after this, I found out a lot of times that when I have problems, and sometimes I get in slumps. I do. It happens. But I found out that I feel better when I start moving around. Then after I found out that when I start moving around, when I look up, I might be delivered.
Yeah. Say that.
And most of the time, Lace, the work that we are going to do is not us concentrating necessarily on ourselves. Even though self-examination is all the time, but you put yourself in on the back burner as far as blessings to help somebody else.
Yeah.
See, the world ain't gonna tell you that. The world gonna say, be about yourself,
Yeah.
do for yourself.
Yeah.
Your gang is me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
But see, but when you do it God's way, and you are hurting, and even in your own hurt, ladies, you go and help somebody else. Now you jacked up now. You messed up. You ain't feeling good. You ain't feeling right. You got trouble at the house. I'm trying to talk to a real church.
Yeah.
You got a headache. Your bills are due.
Yeah.
But yet and still you said, the Lord said, go. And God said, do thus and thus and this for this person. And you go on, you don't question God, and you go do it. Rather, I have found out in doing it, I got delivered.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And I turn around and here comes somebody my way,
All right.
blessing you double,
Say that.
triple, quadruple
All right.
of what God had asked you to do.
All right.
He said, it's time. But what is the time for preaching? To get up. Be aware. Study. Wake up. Get active. And know this. God got your back.
All right.
He says that none that God has given to him
All right.
can be taken out of his hand.
That's right.
This world is not our home.
Say that.
This world is not our home. Jesus is coming back. And he's coming back real soon.
Amen.
I don't know what you want to be doing when he come back. I pray you find me working.
Yes.
I really do. I don't want to be sleeping. I don't want to be sitting idly by. And then not only I want to be working, but I want to be working with some joy.
All right.
Even though it's sweat on our brow, we can still have joy in what we're doing. It's time. It's time to get up.
Yes.
May the Lord bless you real good.
All right.
It's high time.